the Summer Solstice in Community.
Join our annual Arts and Wellness Festival to connect, create, and celebrate with the Soultry Sisters.
In 2023, we explored what it means to cultivate your sanctuary.
Our 3-day festival highlights BIPOC, women, and queer artists and wellness practitioners based in San Diego.
Each year, we collaborate with featured guest artists to build our festival program, which includes creative expression classes, wellness workshops, and performances.
Day 1 of the festival is all about connection. We begin our festival with a social mixer where attendees enjoy music, dancing, and have an opportunity to meet other attendees, guest artists, and us.
Day 2 of the festival is all about creating. Our arts and wellness workshops give folks an opportunity to explore, embrace, and embody what cultivating your sanctuary means to them.
Day 3 of the festival is all about celebration. There is music, dancing, performances, and an open mic for attendees to share. Without a doubt, we always close with a dance party and teach folks the Soultry strut.
We are grateful for all the memories made each year at our Summer Solstice Arts and Wellness Festival, and we can't wait to see you next year.
In the meantime, remember to keep living vibrant and shining bright.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our Soultry Hangout Summer Solstice series. And so as we all know, when we come on, we like to check in with everyone. And so you can put in the comments where you're tuning in from and what you are sipping on. Oh, you're muted here.
Hi, everyone. I am tuning in from sunny San Diego, actually gloomy San Diego. I'm sipping on some a matcha latte. Tony had a matcha latte earlier today, and since we are coming on live, I decided to drink this today. I made it myself, and it's from a local tea shop called Paru, and they are Asian owned.
Nice. And so I'm tuning in from the DC area. It's very gloomy and rainy for like the last couple of weeks, so I am sad. Literally, I feel like the seasonal affective disorder came back. But I have a plethora of beverages today. So I still have the leftover of my matcha from earlier because I was sipping on it. I have some agua, H2O, of course. And I have an exciting new drink this week. So y'all know I love Trader Joe's, and they do these different seasonal sparkling drinks, and they have a sparkling guava or bayabas, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, because I usually drink the sparkling watermelon, and they have a few others, but I had to try the guava, and it does taste like guava actually. So that is nice, and it's pink because I love pink. So I have a little arrangement of beverages.
We love it. We love it. I always learn about all the new Trader Joe's flavors from you, Tony. So thank you for sharing. It inspires me because the parking lot at the Trader Joe's in Oceanside I avoid it at all costs. I only go in if I'm going for a targeted product. So I might have to go in for the Bayabas drink.
Yes, no, I love Trader Joe's. I go there all the time. I take the train to go. That's how much I am dedicated. But yeah, if you're joining in live or even watching the replay, put in the chat where you're tuning in from and what you're sipping on. And we're also live on Instagram. And so if you're on Instagram watching us, you can also comment and we'll be monitoring that. And then we will share out loud.
And so the series that we are focusing on is our Summer Solstice community discussion series, where we're bringing on various artists that will be joining us for the festival, as well as answering any of your questions you may have about attending the festival, any questions you may have for the artists that are coming on as our guests, or any questions for us as well. We just really want to count down to the festival and really get folks excited about the summer solstice celebration.
Yeah, so there's so much to be excited about. And so through this series, our first episode at the beginning of the month, we talked about why reclaiming ancestral healing is our theme this year for the festival. Then last week, we met with Iane and Sierra, and we talked about sound healing and music. And so, again, this series is a way for us to not only highlight the amazing artists that'll be at our festival, but able to have like deeper conversations about our art practices, what that means for us in terms of the work we do in our community, but also just to chat and hang out. Again, this is our Soultry Hangout, so it's a time for us to gather and to celebrate.
And we also want to talk a little bit about like why summer solstice. So, Tony and I, as sisters, we've always loved celebrating the holidays with our family. We've always created our own family traditions, specifically festivity, sister traditions. And one of the things that has been happening for us is seeing each other in the summertime. As you know, Tony is on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast. So the summer solstice marks a reunion of all sorts where Tony comes into town, we get to see our family and friends. And so we really just wanted to honor that celebratory time in our lives, but also mark the summer solstice, which is a time to that we are cultivating that creative energy, play. There's more light in the daytime. There's more space in our schedules to make connections with folks, create new relationships, travel. So we really wanted to maximize on that intention of the summer solstice, and so that is why we started this annual event.
Yes, and this year it is June 21st to 23rd, so the weekend of the solstice. So it's going to be really exciting for us and our community to really set those intentions, do the manifestation work, and to just celebrate. It's kind of our reunion of sorts and a way to connect with folks who've been in our community for the last 5 years, but also new folks. So there's folks who just know us through Instagram, or a friend of a friend tells them, or they just Google and they find out about the
Mhm.
festival. So we're really looking forward to connecting with you all. And I already put it in the chat, but if you want to learn more and get your tickets, you're already excited, you could go to our website,
Mhm.
sultrysisters.com/SS festival, and get your ticket. We still have some early bird tickets available, and early bird, it's $100 for all 3 days, and you get the Soultry exclusive tote because we only have so many left. And then at the festival, we'll launch our new merch. So a lot of exciting things happening. And if you're not already, sign up for our email list on our website too to be in the know and up to date on all things going on in the Soultree community.
Another exciting thing about the festival is that we are inviting all these different types of artists, BIPOC artists, healing artists, performing artists to really celebrate the community, the that we have here in San Diego. So it's an for us, it's also an opportunity for us to honor the relationships that we have with folks in our community, as well as to engage and highlight artists that inspire the work that we do. And so that's why we're super excited for the guests that we have today. But before we bring them on, we want to talk a little bit about the theme of this year's festival, because that's going to tie into our conversation a lot today.
Yes, so our theme this year is reclaiming ancestral healing. And it's kind of in conversation with the theme we had last year. So last year's theme was cultivating your sanctuary. So we talked about sanctuary not only being a physical place, but we did talk about like creating altars. And then also your body can be an altar, your mind, your spirit, all of those things. And then year one of the festival, the theme was celebration of self. And so, again, it's kind of building upon each other, and also us collaborating with the local artists and healers and practitioners in our community. The through line was kind of like, oh, we're all kind of doing work that taps into our ancestral backgrounds. And a part of that collective healing is like the Sankofa and Dinkra symbol of like going back so we can move forward. And so that's kind of why we chose the theme this year. But it's really been something that's been coming up for us for a while. And so we're excited that through this live series, we've been able to connect with the guest artists about what that means to them, and how that kind of comes through in their art and their work.
Yes, I'm really, really excited for this theme. And without further ado, we'd like to bring on our guest today, Dr. Kat.
Hello,
Hi, everybody.
hello.
Thanks
Hello,
for
hello.
having me, Tony and AJ.
Yes, we're excited to have you, Dr. Kat. And so, of course, just like everyone else introduces themselves, so you can say at first where you're tuning in from, what you're sipping on, and then you can also just do a little intro about you.
So, I am here in San Diego and I just came from my wellness center and now I'm parked. So, I won't miss the meeting and this event together. I'm parked in the Hilton Hotel Del Mar and I have a drink here, and this actually is rose and tulsi. So, the rose
Mm.
tulsi tea combination. A little bit about myself. I was born in the Philippines in Cebu, so I am Cebuana, and with my family, I grew up there, spent time for almost 8 years until I moved to the U.S. We moved as a family, so we immigrated. My father was a nurse, and we actually lived in Brooklyn, New York, for another 8 years. So a little bit of that East Coast, and then we went to the West Coast, where we moved here to SoCal. Originally, I lived in the Riverside County, but prior to San Diego, and I in my youth was really a very active person, in leadership, in activism. I remember that always I have more than enough on my plate. So the excitement and passion for school was definitely one of my best memories, all the way from high school to undergrad to grad school to postgraduate. So, like, for me, education has always been very, very big. I am the first in my family who actually strived and became a doctor. And immediately after becoming a chiropractor and acupuncturist, I was able to have a beautiful, exciting career on board the cruise ships. At the time, it was one of those 3 days type of job interview, and I was of the batch, the one that got the position. And from there, I did that for 2 years. Actually, was one of the top acupuncturists in the entire fleet. And the reason why I was able to be of that caliber was because of my as far as belief and my dedication that traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture really serves and has helped so many people, which is also why it's still here today. So for 2 years, I traveled the world. I was able to go to more than 20 something countries at the age of 25.
Wow.
And I would say that was the best time of my life. And yet, it was also the most loneliest and most hardest. I mean,
Mm.
to think that grad school was the most hardest, loneliest time, actually, that whole period of living on board a cruise ship and traveling away from family and being under contract, right, for such long
Mhm.
periods, was even like more than the college years. It was
Mhm.
more than the graduate years. It was definitely a wonderful time, only because I, as a personality, was intent on making it the best as it could be. And yeah, after that, came back to California, resumed my practices in Riverside County. I had 2 offices, only to come to the realization that Riverside County wasn't the place for me. I did a lot of meditation, and the guidance was for me to move to San Diego. And I didn't know why. I didn't really have anybody in San Diego. I had like no family. I had to start from scratch. And for any doctor, practitioner, and business person, this is definitely interesting into so much of the unknown, because you have to start your whole entire practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, start building up the business all over. But I then came to find out that San Diego is home to more than 200,000 Filipinos. And the work that led me now, over the last, I would say, 7 years, is really in the promotion, in the offering, and in the teaching of Filipino traditional medicine. So that, in a nutshell, is the introduction of where I am now in San Diego. And what I've been doing is integration of chiropractic, acupuncture, nutrition, functional medicine, herbalism, and shamanic medicine through the Filipino
Mm.
indigenous roots. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Kat. All that you shared about who you are and what you do really aligns with healing the mind, body, spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and community. And love hearing about your travel stories. I'm getting ready to head into grad school, so um, I'm hearing a lot about the challenges and the fact that you spent a lot of your primary age years in Brooklyn. Me and Tony loves that part of New York, and my experience there, it's a very wellness centered place in New York. So it's kind of cool that you have some ties there in your youth.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then we got connected with you, Dr. Kat, I guess a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
You reached out to us because you have the Luab Health Center, and for us to collaborate with you and stuff, and we've just stayed in community. And then also a fun fact, if y'all are tuning in, if you're familiar with the Out of the Boondocks docu-series, our community knows that we were featured on season 2, but Dr. Kat was featured in
Mm-hmm.
season 1. So if you haven't watched season 1, go back and watch. We've been plugging our episode this month because May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And so we've been plugging our episode for folks to watch, but definitely check out Dr. Kat as well.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna put I'm gonna put that in the chat for you.
I think we were in episode 4 or 5.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we're episode 4 of season 2, so maybe it's
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
Yes. And
awesome.
Awesome.
our other partner on that docu-series interview was, I believe, is a spoken word poet. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm.
I see that. I see that. Okay, it's gonna get in the chat, y'all, and you can check it out and learn more.
That also was our first location in the
Mm.
Scripps Ranch area. So previous to our current one. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess to start off, we're gonna ask, like, what are you most excited about for this year's festival with Soultry Sisters?
I think for me, just in being candid with all the different changes over the last few years, for me, what is exciting is when people connect, and then through the heart, able to feel that they are safe to be and to share and just release, to in a sense learn new things and unlearn new things. So what's exciting for me is to be able to see all the new faces, because I haven't met them, but to see them in their most vulnerable, and in a place where, yeah, incubating this place where everyone can feel truly themselves, and the vulnerability in what they have to share and release and to learn and receive.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens through the
Yes.
weekend. Honestly, like what you're describing is what folks have shared that the journey is like. We describe it as a journey because there's 3 days, and each day we're very intentional of like the different activities that we have for folks. Because the first day is like a mixer, which is kind of just everyone getting to know each other, the artists, the attendees, us being able to chat with people, and there's live music, performers. And this year, the Friday evening is going to have a culinary artist featured. Well, each year we've had a culinary artist, but this year is going to be for the first day. And because again, we like to promote culinary arts. And then also just, especially in Filipino culture, we use food to connect. So a way to connect with our community. And then the Saturday is like all of the main workshops. So we
And
start
you'll be
with,
our closer of that
yes,
day.
you'll be a closing out, but we start with like Soultry, grounding everyone in the theme of the year. Then we'll do some meditation sound bath with Iane, who was a part of last week's live, doing a sonic ritual. Then we'll have a break of sorts, and then movement, and then close out with your herbalism ritual. And so we're really excited to have that part of the festival this year, to really go into an actual practice and to experience that as a group, especially since this year's on the solstice weekend. I think it's going to be even more powerful. And then Sunday is our closing ceremony day. We have a few more workshops. We have movement, we'll have a craft, creative writing, and then the final mixer where there's a DJ, it's fun, more food, and all of that stuff. So that's kind of how the weekend flows. But yeah, we like to say it's like a kind of a mini retreat of sorts where you don't have to leave your city to have, that wellness poured into you and poured into our community. Yeah, so that's what the weekend entails.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to all of that. Yes.
We're really excited, especially for folks to experience and learn more about Filipino traditional healing
Mhm.
medicine and practices, because that's part of our identity. And as we've been uh, creating Soultry Sisters and having our own reclamation of
Mhm.
our family practices, and just we're really honored to share that with our community, and also embracing with our community, learning something new together. And for us,
Mhm.
that's how a lot of the bonds are created at the festival. A lot of people, sometimes it's their first time doing a yoga class or sound bath, and we know going through a practice and workshop with you will be the first for many. So it's going to be a beautiful opportunity for all of us that attend to have that unique bonding experience. So that's something we're truly, truly excited about this year specifically.
Good.
Yeah, and I know a lot of your work, you kind of word it or frame it as like remembering our connection to ancestral healing. And so we wanted to ask you kind of like, what does, reclaiming ancestral practices and healing mean to you, and how that comes out in your work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned about the remembering. So I say R, spelling RE, and then line. So connecting that. So we're remembering ourselves. So we are putting our member to ourselves again, or in this case, reconnecting, we're connecting again. And then reclaiming, we are in the word there is claim. This is what has always been ours.
Mhm.
So those are the words and how we see the root of it. And for me, in terms of claiming our medicine has always been ours, this has always been our heritage. This has, even we say, this has always been our magical heritage.
Mhm.
So we come from, we say in the Philippines, now we call it Philippines. It had been many names, of course, over time. And even when we have taken our students into the remembering, we go into how the land was formed before the tectonic plates were shifting. We were essentially all of these very sacred lands from the Southeast Asian countries, even. So, if you can think why so much similarity, that's the reason why. And so, this land we say is the land of Mu, or even in the past, we can also say the name Lumeria. So, that is why we say reclaiming magical heritage, because Lumeria was very, and this Lumeria is the ancient sister of Atlantis. So
Mm.
this is where we were from, and this is why for the Filipinos, and those with Filipino ancestry really have that very deep sense of the nature, the magical, and that's the reason, because we are very connected to those land, which was magical.
Mm.
Oh, I love that. All of that is like, I'm so glad we're recording this so we can have that to go back and to listen back to. But yeah, I love you mentioning how, like, that, how you explain the remembering is that connecting back and the reclaiming, because that's where we're really leaning into in our journey. Like with our Soultry community, we always share the practices that we've been doing, that we've been learning and remembering. And that's why this year's festival is like very special to us too, because we really wanted to highlight the different types of practices that we do. And like for me in my journey, I connected with herbalism more, like as specifically like the word herbalism in 2020, through Hood Herbalism that was based in LA at the time, but I think Berenice might be in San Diego now. But I've done a lot of virtual workshops with them on like pleasure herbalism, herbal medicine for birth support, and different things like that. And then now in my journey of birth work, being a doula, and all this stuff, like all of it is kind of connecting. And then even this year for my 30th birthday, I remembered this picture that I had as a child with hibiscus and gumamela, and that's like one of my spirit plants, flowers, is gumamela. And to just know that since a young child, I've always felt connected. So like with your definition of like remembering is like I'm in that part of my journey of like remembering like, oh, I was doing this, or oh, I felt connected to it. And so that's exactly what all of this is about.
Very good.
I also love the reclaiming of, because
Mhm.
we talk about that a lot, especially in my artist work, in the work that I do as an artist.
Mhm.
I a lot of my work is about me remembering, and then my reclamation is in the form of the art that I share with people. Um,
Mhm.
and so one of my first piece that I did was called Sankofa Kalayaan. So it was combining two of the languages, like one language for the Akan tribe in Africa, and then Tagalog. And so through that piece, I was declaring we have the right to reach back and
Mhm.
take what's rightfully ours. So as we're having this conversation, I wanted to segue into asking you, how does your artistry through herbalism and healing arts connect to your ancestral healing?
So, in the profession I am serving as acupuncturist, classically I am trained as in the Chinese. So, linking to my ancestry, I do have Chinese through my mom. So,
Mhm.
I am Filipina Chinese. So,
Mm.
actually, in the practice of traditional Chinese medicine and being classically trained in the Chinese herbs, I really got to understand how much that even for the Philippines, we have been able to adopt through the history of the trades as well, the trade routes, the all of this silk trades and so forth. Um, we have been able to acquire not only the Chinese herbs, but also aspects of mythology and legends, and aspects of practices of as well healing. So in terms of that part, I can say. In terms of now, as a shamanic practitioner for the Filipino traditional medicine, which are that medicine definitely is able to be within the shamanism. We're using as well some of the herbs that we have brought back from the Philippines that we ourselves are growing here in San Diego, because San Diego is able to, with
Mm-hmm.
the temperatures here, we can grow a lot of the herbs that are tropical to an extent. And so a lot of the things that we're also offering in the Luab Health Center, our wellness center, has been now in the promotion of Filipino herbs.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that I am honoring both of my sides as a
Mm-hmm.
Filipino Chinese, and wonderfully merging as well the herbs for whatever time or specificity or if efficacy needed for like therapeutic results. So it's basically augmenting the toolbox. And for the Filipino herbs that we will be also integrating for the event, is going to be for the purposes where we are using it for energy clearing, energy cleansing, and as well as energy enhancement, and for energy blessings and for
Mm-hmm.
energy healing. So this will be bringing in a lot of the Filipino herbs.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Um, And also, yeah, with us and our journey too has been going back to, like Alyssa said, both of our heritage, like our ancestral heritage in the continent of Africa, but also in the Philippines. And our mom's family also has roots in like Chinese and Indian as well. But that has been the beautiful part of this journey of like reclaiming, is that learning all of the new herbs, and especially, yeah, in San Diego, our mom's garden, she's able to have different things. And growing up, a lot of her family members did, but my mom got into gardening a little later. But it was always nice to have those comforts here in San Diego. And then when I went to the Philippines like years ago, because I was living in Guam for 2 years, I'd go to the Philippines a lot, and to just see abundantly, I was just like, oh, it's all around, and to use them that way. Um, and then also, I wanted to touch upon just you being a healing artist, because it wasn't until last fall that I started identifying as a healing artist. Um, but I think to just kind of uplift that in this conversation, to kind of share, I guess, that term, why you use it, what does that mean to you, and the work that you do as well.
Mm-hmm. So in the healing arts, as a healing artist, we see that the concept, the look, the experience, the journey of healing for everyone looks different. And there is so much of the ugly and there's so much of the beauty. And
Mm,
sometimes we put it into differences of perspectives, you see? So, like when we see art pieces in a museum, when we are speaking of healing for the mental body, for the spirit, for the matter, uh, it can look in so many ways, so many interpretations, and so many nuances. So, that is how I perceive in terms of my work as a healing artist, that we embrace all of it.
mhm,
There is not one
Mm.
that we say is less or more, because all of it is essentially, say for a patient or this a client, everything that they have experienced to date has made them exactly who they are. And
mhm,
so we honor, and that is the emphasis too in the honoring of
mhm,
Mm.
our pain, our suffering, our grief, because this actually allows transformations.
Mhm.
So, like the yin and yang symbol, everything is always transforming. And that
Mhm.
is the beauty as a healing artist to see and practice in that way.
Mhm.
Mm. What came up for me when you were sharing that, Dr. Cat, was healing artist vessel, being a
Mhm.
or holding space. Um, it just those are the things that came up when you were describing um, how healing honest art honor people's whole being, like
Mhm.
the dark, the light, and everything. For us, we talk about like how we talk about holistic wellness, holistic, and we
Mhm.
also talk about as far as like being creative. We don't use the word we use the word creative expression, and we share that everyone has something to express, and how it
Mhm.
comes out will look different. Similar to healing artists, everyone has different experiences, and they're going to show up differently, and and we honor however they show up in that way. So it's bringing up those things for me and how I'm relating to your description of being a healing artist.
Yes, we also practice it through different mediums, through different tools. Like you
Mhm.
would an artist who uses different paintbrushes and
Mhm.
different paint, and also different like how you say, like mixed medium, different
Yes.
Mhm.
platforms even. So yeah, in terms of how we practice in the wellness center, we incorporate sound, we incorporate light, we incorporate food and flavors, we incorporate as well, of course, a lot of things from the plant allies, but we also do from in the mineral kingdom. We have upcoming
Mhm.
even is the medicine, the stone medicine. So
Mhm.
in Bisaya, from the Visayas, where Cebu is regionally located, we have is what we call tambal, is medicine. Tambal sa bato, so stone medicine. So we
Mhm.
incorporate even with the use of these stones,
Mhm.
gemstones, crystals.
Mhm.
We also incorporate healing just through also prayers, movement, songs. There's so many different tools.
Mhm.
Mm. So what I'm hearing too as part of being a healing artist is having, like you said, a lot of tools, different ways to meet people where they are, different ways to pull. And another thing that I've noticed about, your work and your center is the other aspect of being a healing artist is bringing people together,
Mhm.
like in your practice. And I think that's something that um I wanted to like uplift. What for you as a healing artist, what are the different ways in your community that you like to bring people together for healing purposes or healing practices?
Well, a lot of the things that we create space for communion is through our we have a food club, so we speak about what has been indigenous native healing foods, um,
Mhm.
whether vegan or not vegan. As long as it has been used with a context historically and for cultural groups, we honor that. We also bring community for watching. We have a film club, so we are showcasing high vibrational contents through like
Mhm.
documentary or a variety of different film genres. So the mind not is not just entertained, but there's also a learning aspect
Mm,
and that ability to share afterward. So film appreciation afterward. We also create community for those that are learning, um, going back into cultural traditions and roots. We talk about um, our indigenous writing system of the Philippines. One of them is Baybayin.
Mhm.
We have the House of Baybayin. We also recently just hosted a community event where we speak about this legend and the power of the Linglingo. So that is from
Mhm.
our House of Myths and Legends. So we have five houses that go into these different cultural content. So creating community for our wellness center is for the purposes of learning, and all these things that we're learning, basically going back to um, our traditional medicine, our
Mhm.
traditional writing, our traditional spirituality, traditional plants, etc. So a lot of this gathering and community has been for these purposes of like growing, learning together, healing together. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And what I also thought of is how through your work, how I pulled up your bios. I can reiterate it verbatim how you shared, but you speak about how you believe that Indigenous Filipino medicine holds a significant impact on natural healthcare delivery, and progressing our collective consciousness and healing of our sacred lands and ancestral traumas from our colonized past. And I think this is an important part of your work as well, especially as Filipinos in the diaspora. That, at least in my experience, I think a lot of what we learn is the colonization from Spain, Catholicism and those practices and rituals, and then also being Filipino American, then like the US American rituals and practices. But I think what's powerful about your work is really illuminating that decolonization. And I think that's been more awareness I see on social media now on decolonization, especially in Filipino culture. But I wanted to give you space to share more about, yeah, how your work or the different projects and healing arts that you do really speak to this decolonization, especially for Filipinos.
Yeah. So, first thing to mention about how our medicine is just as powerful as the Native American medicine. And that was said by a Native
Mm.
American medicine man. And
Mm.
that was the day that I really felt encouraged to continue with this, because when we speak about our timeline now and how in this Fibonacci sequence, many are going into ancient timelines, we have to, because we have to learn what was before to move into creating a new future. So much like what you mentioned, Tony, this is the Fibonacci sequence, and many of us have incarnated into this lifetime, and this may be a topic that maybe not all people are ready to hear or believe entirely, but even for me, if you talked to me years ago, I probably would have dismissed this notion of reincarnation. But if we are on this topic, many are have been reincarnated now because we are actually building a future. And what are the souls that have come into this timeline now? A lot have been with the memories of Atlantis and the destruction. So, and lots of wars. So we want to recreate how we can move forward in this time where we are sorting through these memories of wars. And when we speak of countries that were colonized, such as the Philippines, we have to also go into learning what was done and how we can fully take space without shame. So,
Mhm.
decolonization work is about that, where we remember those past, those wars, those traumas, we heal that, and we take now, we take space without shame, and we are able to fully
Mm.
embrace our soul that's now in these bodies. And also having to bring forth the collective consciousness beyond
Mhm.
survival. We have to now go into thriving. And there's so
Mhm.
many pressures all around us because we are still within this matrix. And there are many, many different matrices, but overall, the matrix that we still live in, this three-dimensional world, still has an impression on the fact that there's materialism. I believe that for the spiritualism of our ancient people from this land of Lemuria, that we were definitely very spiritual people. And the
Mhm.
medicine that has been preserved today, which is all about nature, is to give us the compass that if you are sick, if you are confused, if you are lost, etc., you have to go back to what is the natural order, what is the
Mm,
nature, what, because the reason is you need to remember that you are nature herself. We
Mhm.
are the neurons of nature. So we don't say to ourselves that I am going to be the one to, as a neuron, heal this body. No, because you are the body. You as a neuron already are the body. So you
Mhm.
are that microcosm, right? You don't see yourself as like piece. So our Filipino traditional medicine, this stem, this indigenous part is really powerful to heal. And it has a place in healing nations because why? Filipinos are everywhere around the globe. Many of us are serving in
Mhm.
so many industry sectors.
mhm,
Many of us excel, always usually the top. In fact, I just had a patient that came to see me,
mhm,
and he's the family friend of, the Smith family, Jada
Mhm.
Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, etc., and also very close as well to Dwayne Johnson. So, it doesn't surprise me anymore, basically sharing that. Why? Because it doesn't surprise me anymore that there's so many Filipinos in all sectors, in every industry, and us reclaiming who we are and our medicine
Mhm.
and doing the work
mhm.
of healing our traumas will will spark around the globe,
Mhm.
because there's always a Filipino wherever there's good news,
Yes.
always a Filipino behind it. So that is why I believe that Filipino indigenous medicine or traditional medicine has a place in the healing of nations.
Mhm.
Because the moment that we can see and truly understand who we are, it's like it's like a major button that will shift
Mhm.
consciousness. And so I really believe that when we can dig deeper into the work of decolonizing, there's many different levels, of course.
Mhm.
There is
Mhm,
in the realm of what we say in the realm of matter. We are decolonizing within our bodies. There is also in the realm of the psyche. So within the mental frontier, there's the subconscious. So a
mhm,
Mhm.
lot of those programmings that we have been ingrained with. And then, there's so many other levels. Um, there's so much that when we do this work, we're able to really step forth more powerfully. And as Filipinos, we always share. We are a community that come together through food, through karaoke, through
Mhm.
dance, right?
yes,
Um,
like bayanihan.
yes. And one thing that I had never fully appreciated until recently, few years when I started this journey, was how people actually come together talking about healing, in terms of Filipinos, the healing stories. So, what I mean to say
Mhm.
is, usually people don't know that their relatives or lolo or lola in some capacity experience what we say hilot.
Mhm.
That actually connects people. So it's
Mhm.
no longer just food, it's no longer just karaoke, it's no longer just dancing party, but it's also how we connect through stories. Once again,
Mhm.
full circle. So that is why I really have a, a big heart for this, because our collective is still in that point um of learning to unlearn what was given to us. It's not
Mhm.
ours,
Mhm,
right?
Mhm.
And also
Mm-hmm.
in terms of survivalhood, there's so much that still needs to be healed there, because when we talk about food, even I as a nutritionist, it's going to be where it's like you're walking on eggshells, because for some Filipinos, they will defend certain foods that
Yes.
already causes diabetes
Yes.
or high blood pressure or heart attack or stroke.
Yeah.
Like, don't you talk bad about my food.
Yeah,
uh,
well, I remember growing up, I didn't realize that certain dishes could be without meat.
Yeah, because in
yeah.
the US, yeah, it's like a very heavy meat. And then even in the Philippines, I guess it's like meat is associated with status sometimes too. But yeah, going there as an adult and realizing that, yeah, there's like all these other ways to create our traditional dishes that aren't heavy in certain, yeah, food groups that it is in the Filipino American cuisine. And so, yeah, that was eye opening for me
Mm,
too, to be in the Philippines and like just have so much more like vegetables and green and all these other things. And I was like, oh, okay. And
we have someone in the
Sultry
chat.
Mama. Yeah.
So Sochi Mama shared, I grew up with the ELOT helping pregnant ladies and people with sprained ankles, etc.
Mm,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we call them in the Philippines, those working with fertility, is mga dronas.
mm,
They are
Mm.
like what you think of today as like a doula.
mhm,
Oh.
Because there's a difference between a midwives and there's
mhm,
difference between doulas. So sometimes it's
Mhm.
kind of bunched up together. But the dronas are the ones that are addressing the what we say, the mattress. The mattress
mm,
where the baby is, right? We don't want
mhm,
it too low, otherwise it's a prone miscarriages.
mm,
And then as far as the manghihilot that work on the sprain strain, um, we definitely have seen in past, not so much now, unfortunately. Why? Well, let's first say what it is. Uh, Before we see a lot of bone setting, and now a lot of the elders are grandfathered now, but because of our modern timeline, this is just the way it is. um, we have many industries now that have borders, boundaries, that those that practice traditional hilot, the mangi hilot, they really are not encouraged to be doing any type of bone setting.
mm,
And also, I think another reason to that is because in our modern timeline now, here, at least in the Western, we have what we call chiropractic, which has already the trifecta. The chiropractic has perfected the art of bone setting. So it is now standardized now as our modern
mhm,
timeline, and there is no chiropractic school in the Philippines. So
Mm.
that is something in
mm,
terms of the differences of helot practitioners can go into aspects of myofascial to bone setting to aspects of fertility. There's also those that practice more on the herbalism, and there's also those that have more component of energy healing.
Mm.
mm,
Oh, so there's a spectrum, and now that we've brought that up, I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about the because you speak about um, the reclamation of ancestral practices for Filipinos. And we noticed that you have a native Ilot learning retreat. Can you talk a little bit about how that ties to your mission of empowering others to continue their own healing practices?
So for us, we are called to, under our spirit guides and our diwata, we are only offering for those to learn Filipino traditional medicine if with Filipino blood or
Mm,
mhm,
lineage. Why? Because we are working with the blood. So we are activating. It is hard for us to make a white person feel and think like they're Filipino, even if they want to, because they don't have the memory in the blood.
Mm,
It's very similar to the
Mm-hmm.
practices in Hawaii. If you go to the traditional Hawaiian educational system, you must prove Hawaiian ancestry. I have
mhm,
others colleagues that are teaching anyone, as long as probably if they can pay. But for us, our guidance has been specific that we are only to teach this to
Mm-hmm.
those of Filipino ancestry. And so we are in alignment to that.
mhm,
And at the same time, when we are teaching this, we have an introduction, is a virtual. So this is 4 hours of virtual introduction. We actually open this to all peoples through all lineages to allow for people to get introduced to what Filipino traditional medicine is, and
Mm-hmm.
what it can do. However, when we're talking about the in-person live retreats,
mhm,
that is for specifically, yes, for those of Filipino ancestry. We have different levels, and we have developed this level so as to meet people where they are and how far they want to go in their learning. So we have what we call beginner level. We have beginner level 1 and 2. We have intermediate level 1 and 2, and then we have advanced level 1 and 2. So for the beginner level 1, it is designed to have is the basics for the Filipino that wants to heal themselves. Always,
mhm,
as a healer, in the practice of healing, you must begin with the self.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot bring in a healing if your vessel is not quite well to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are talking about energy and power. So
mhm.
you are to first help yourself, like how we are in the airplane when there's
Mm-hmm.
emergency.
Yes.
You are not
Mm-hmm.
encouraged to help others until you put on your oxygen mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're no good once you're down. And then you're
Mm-hmm.
one more collateral, you're one more problem adding. So the same. For beginner level 2, this is where we then augment from you. Now you can address your immediate family. So immediate
Mm-hmm.
family circle or immediate friend circle. So for this, why we do that is because beginner level 1 and 2 is about foundations. We understand that not all people might go into intermediate level, designed for those already in the healthcare or healing industries in whatever capacity they're already in serving or in service. The advanced level is for those that want to go into the magical components. So if there's something about foundation, our legacy
Mm,
really for the foundation beginner levels is so that every Filipino household can start
mm,
the remembrance of our medicine and how we heal ourselves and our immediate units,
Mm-hmm.
which already is the household, and that is
Mm-hmm.
impactful already.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. This is really resonating with me. I'm not sure, Tony, it's probably resonating with you too. But if you go on the Luab Health Center website, you can check out when the introduction to shamanism and Filipino traditional medicine virtual class is. I just appreciate the accessibility. You have, the one open to all lineages virtually, and then the in-person for our community, and talking about decolonization, talking about really protecting the integrity of our practices. I do appreciate you um, being very mindful of that, because it is, like you said, it's powerful. And also I feel like something that we're talking about at the festival is we want to not only share the honoring of our lineage, but we hope that inspires people from other lineages and cultures to say, well, what about my ancestral practices?
Mm-hmm.
We hope that sharing a little bit of ours will inspire people to find out about their own, because you mentioned about like being from the blood. We want people to have that reclamation, have that remembering. And so again, back to that healing arts, everyone honoring themselves. So we want to uplift like how you sharing that relates to the holisticness. Everyone has a place, everyone has a people that they come from, that they can source that type of healing and energy work.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful thing too about going into shamanism and all this indigenous medicine is that a lot look very, very similar. Only
Mm-hmm.
difference sometimes really is the language spoken
Mm.
and the herbs used that's in.
Mm-hmm.
Real.
But otherwise, really, is the foundation of the shamanic roots is same for anyone across the globe. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and what I also appreciate through my journey in healing arts and herbalism is really connecting to intuition and trusting that. And that's what I've learned from my teachers and through connecting with source and my spirit guides is that a lot of times we have those answers within, or we're able to, when we think about and do the practices to think about our lineages, then we can remember that, like, oh, my mom did that, or my great grandmother did that, or oh, I saw other people doing this and that felt good. And so I always try to share with folks to like lean into the intuition of it, because that's part of this work too. Because like you mentioned, it's about, you know, the sacredness, the spirit, that magic. So it's, of course, it's not just following something step by step, but making sure you're having that kind of like divine connection to what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing and the healing practices you're doing. And so I think it is beautiful that you have different offerings that are specific to folks of Filipino lineage. Because, yeah, I think that's the sacred part. Because, yeah, through herbalism, I've been able to realize it's connected to both of my cultures. So I feel very empowered in that. Um, and then some of the doula work I do has been promoting more so the African lineages with granny midwives and stuff like that. But I do find it important to sometimes have specific spaces for certain cultural lineages, because, like you said, it's that powerfulness of us coming from that same kind of background and having that kind of innate wisdom that's passed down to us through blood. And then there's other things that you can learn about and practice as well, but have like a reverence of practices that aren't from your own lineage. And I think that's what Western wellness gets wrong, is that I think folks, it's not that they can't do practices of other cultures, but I think they don't have that reverence and honoring of where it comes from and the people who currently still practice that as well. So I think your work really does highlight and honor all of that. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you. And then I will say this as a clarification too, that Western medicine does serve, and it is essentially just different arenas. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, a lot of what we are seeing is the use and abuse and this misuse and abuse of Western medicine, because they are going into places that really is not the strongest. So what I mean is that if you are in emergency, you are to go to the hospital. That is
Mm-hmm.
a champion. Okay. But if you are doing things that are healing for aspects of like generational, these are all aspects within the what we say is the spiritual, the Eastern medicine,
Mhm.
and or the shamanic medicine, and so many modalities there. The aspect too of Western medicine is that one pill doesn't serve all at the same way,
Mhm.
because we have different metabolic, we have different
Mm-hmm.
process. And so, we do say though that because of the abuse, there's so much more dependency of the drugs, the medication, the synthetics that's supposed to be only temporary as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
Mhm.
why when we return back to example Filipino traditional medicine and going back to nature, we start learning
Mhm.
how to eat, we start learning how to treat the body, we start learning as well to have plant allies and other allies with the stone kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and then we see that is just as it is more effective for those purposes,
Mm-hmm.
rather than taking, say, a sleeping pill or an antidepressant, right? Or for other things regarding the immune system, even. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, this is really why we honor both the integrative approach here. Is the West
Yes.
medicine has their own uh,
Mm-hmm.
strength, and the Eastern medicine has their own strength. And when we can really truly understand, even like the medical doctors that can truly understand this, they become such wonderful medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
they
Yes.
know they know when to, step into, have
Mm-hmm.
like what we say, like boxing. They know their strength,
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
and then they know who's better than them for other
Mm-hmm.
things. That's what we call is a
The
referral
team.
relation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I resonate with that because we talk about at Soultry Community building a wellness ecosystem. And when you're building a wellness ecosystem for ourselves, we're reflecting um yes, you're the different, like if you're a doctor, but you're also your community, um spirituality, like all the aspects. And for me as a Pilates practitioner, I honor the wellness ecosystem. So if I have a client and I feel like I'm not the best, I might refer them to a chiropractor, I might refer them to a massage therapist, I might refer them, say, go to the doctor because the pain you're feeling, I can't help you. So I want to echo that, what you're saying about being a part of a wellness ecosystem is the most powerful that we can do as healers, is know our strength, but also know others who can help people along their journey. So thank you for uplifting and clarifying that.
Yeah, and also like in the work that I do, that's kind of how I got called to do herbalism, was through the COVID pandemic and things being shut down. I started a class, I was enrolled in a class for kitchen medicine and talking about how you can use kitchen scraps to make immunity and to boost our immune system during a time of heightened disease. And so, yeah, that was what I was really passionate about since I was studying public health. And then I also was a holistic wellness practitioner. I was like, oh, yeah, like food is medicine and it can just start in the kitchen. And I think that's also like an accessible way for folks of like, it's not always about all the tinctures and salves and oils. Like those are great too. But a lot of times it's just, the food and herbs that you cook with and eat and ingest can also be very powerful. And like you mentioned too, that y'all also center food in the work that you do. And to also just, I think my journey has also been reclaiming cultural foods and things a part of my lineage and ancestry. And that has been healing as well.
Yes, and I'm really happy that we were able to have this discussion with you, and I hope this helps people to see how you and your work is a part of our wellness ecosystem.
Mhm.
And we recommend everyone to connect with Dr. Kat at our festival, and also connect with all the programming that you have going on with the Lewis Center.
Yes, so we added all of your links in the chat for folks to follow the Luam Health Center and the website to stay up to date with everything that Dr. Kat is doing and up to. And of course, if y'all are excited for her session at our festival, you can go to our website and get your early bird ticket to secure your spot because you don't want to miss out. Dr. Kat's offering is going to be so unique, so amazing. And again, it's during the summer solstice itself, June 21st to 23rd. So I think that the energy is going to be even more heightened.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely am excited to meet everybody. Even a short sharing here. We have
Mhm.
upcoming too is the Stone Medicine is an 8 week 8 series. And so for those that are wanting to learn more about the world of the mineral kingdom, it's a wonderful ally they can be. Mhm.
Yes, I definitely want to learn more about that because I love crystals. Well, we love
Definitely.
crystals. I wear crystals every day, have them all
Yes.
over my house. They're like on my laptop right now, like in the crease of the
Yeah.
laptop.
Yes.
Yes,
So
we are so, we are looking into and using it and integrating it for so many purposes, whether for internal, external, for feng shui, for meditation, because we are so gravitating to mother's bones. This is our,
Mhm.
we say, is our earth, is our mother, although from a higher perspective, we ourselves is her actually, because we are
Mhm.
neurons that make her. So our consciousness is affected by her, and vice versa. So we have to really, as they say, if you want to be the change, you do the work. You are the inner work, and things
Mhm.
around you start changing accordingly too.
Yes, thank you for like closing out our discussion with that wonderful gem, like that we can be the synergy and the current for change.
Yes, you are the cosmos. Cosmos is within you. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. So we appreciate having this conversation with you, Dr. Kat. It's been so amazing. The replay will be up on our YouTube for everyone who was joining later. You can see the whole thing on our YouTube and share with folks. And next week, we're excited to have Katie Ruiz come on so we can talk about craftivism and crafting our dreams. So we're really excited for this series to get us excited about the annual festival and to have all of our amazing artists that we're in community with share more about their work. So we look forward to seeing you all next week, and we'll see you all then. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And